Well, let me just start it off like this. Two things. One, it's been a while, and I do mean a while, since I've done an Operation Protect the White Woman on my channel. It's probably been a couple of months since the last time I did one. So long, in fact, I can't even remember the last one that I did one on. And two, it's been even longer since the last time I spoke on Allison Mack. Now, this update of this story right here was posted in my Discord, and when I saw it, I immediately thought of Harvey, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if Harvey was still on YouTube, he would have a field day with this, because the way I learned about Allison Mack, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't watch Smallville, so I didn't know who she was. But when I learned about who she was more so post Smallville, and the stuff she was engaged in was from Harvey, and he used to stay going in on her every chance he could. So shout out to Harvey in that aspect. But I wanted to come on here and do this video because now there's been an update of what's been going on with Allison Mack after she is getting an early prison release. So she has a career path for herself after what she engaged in. So what I'm doing is I'm reading this article that's coming from the New York Post, and the title of the article is called Nexium Slave Master, Allison Mack's shocking career move revealed after early prison release. And if you don't know what Nexium is, and it's spelled N-X-I-V-M, it was basically a Hollywood sex cult that she was a part of, and it was ran by this man named Keith Raniere, who has been sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. And it was a lot of grotesque things going on with that situation right there. If you haven't had a chance to look into it, I would highly suggest that you do, but I'm gonna warn you right now, it's very graphic, like very, even down to it's so graphic, in fact, that I would say the text is more detailed than the imagery that you'll find. Don't get me wrong, the imagery is bad enough, but the details are very, very off-putting. And she played a huge part in it. I think she was like his second in command. But anyway, let's get into it. Allison Mack, the former Smallville actress convicted for her role in the notorious Nexium cult, has revealed what she has been doing with her life following her early release from prison. The former TV star who played Chloe Sullivan on the hit WB series is pursuing a master's degree in social work as part of her efforts to rebuild her life after serving time, according to Variety. See, this is the part where the Operation Protect the White Woman comes in, because with all the stuff that she did, had she not been white, let's just say hypothetically that she was black, there's no way in hell anybody would allow her to try to rebuild her life for the stuff that she was involved in. That's why I said, if you haven't gotten a chance to look into what she was involved with, you would not even look this woman's way if you knew what she looked like. Like, she would be considered, she would be like excommunicado. Like, really, no one would want to be involved with her in any capacity. I know I wouldn't, you know, as long as you have a clear conscience. Allison, age 43, pleaded guilty in 2019 to racketeering and racketeering conspiracy for her involvement in Nexium, the self-help organization that prosecutors described as a pyramid scheme and sex cult led by 65-year-old founder Keith Raniere. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2021, but was released early in 2023. You mean to tell me she couldn't do one more year? Her surprising new chapter comes alongside the launch of the 7-episode podcast series Allison After Nexium, so she even gets a podcast in which she reportedly revisits her rise in Hollywood, her years with Nexium, and her eventual downfall. The series, which is hosted by Natalie Robomed, forgive me if I mispronounced that name, and premiered Monday with 2 episodes, is said to explore whether Mack is a victim or someone who victimized others. Why are you questioning if she's a victim or not? This woman victimized people. Let me give y'all an example just to tell you how disgusting this woman was. This woman had a branding iron that had her initials on it. Keith Raniere had one too, and I think they also had one that had the Nexium logo on it. This woman branded women with a branding iron like how they do cattle, you know, to mark, to let you know that you own that cattle on a farm. So it's some women out there that permanently have this woman's initials on their body somewhere, and if not her initials, Keith Raniere's initials or the Nexium logo. That's just an example. If you don't believe me, just go look up Nexium branding or Allison Mack branding, and you'll see for yourself. When I saw it for myself, I was absolutely disturbed by that. And it was all downhill from there. The rabbit hole beyond that is even more crazier. So to ask if she's victimized, no, she definitely did the victimizing. In one emotional moment on the podcast, Mack broke down crying while recounting how her crimes affected her loved ones. She says, "Oh my God, my poor brother behind me, having to hear about his sister," she said through tears, regarding her sentencing. "My poor mom, I'm so sorry, you guys. I can't take it, but like F you guys, I'm so sorry. I don't see myself as innocent," she added, and they were. Mack had joined Nexium in 2006 after attending one of the group's personal development seminars. Now, you got to put the timeline together. It says she joined Nexium in 2006. Mind you, Smallville was still on the air at that time. So either her character was not on Smallville anymore, because again, I haven't seen Smallville, so someone who's in the chat is going to have to help me with this if you watched it. Either she wasn't on the show anymore when she went and joined this group, or she joined this group while she was still on the show. Either way, that's crazy. I think it's even more crazy if she joined the group while she was still on the show, because that means she was engaged in this stuff while being on a hit television show. And from what I'm hearing, I think they were trying to prop her up or push her to be a big star, or try to create, because careers did get created off of that show, but hers went nowhere, and we can see why, because this is what she decided, the path she decided to go down, which is so crazy and dumb when you think about it in hindsight. The organization, based in Albany, New York, attracted thousands of followers and several other celebrities with its promises of empowerment and self-improvement. But behind the scenes, prosecutors argued Raniere created a secret subgroup within Nexium known as DOS, known as Dominus Obsequious Sorium, or Master over Slave, where women were branded with his initials, like I mentioned earlier, starved, blackmailed with collateral such as nude photos or embarrassing personal information, and coerced into sex. Mack, who served as a high-ranking quote-unquote master in DOS, was accused of recruiting, overseeing, and brainwashing women in the group. In her 2019 plea deal, she admitted to manipulating victims on Raniere's behalf. So when you hear all of that, does this sound like a person that was being victimized? Does this sound like a person that was a victim of anything? No, but what they're going to try to frame it is that Keith Raniere somehow brainwashed her into brainwashing others. And that's, I believe, the angle they were trying to go with when all of this first came about. And I was sitting there saying to myself, nope, she is in charge of her own self. She willingly joined this group, and she could have left when she wanted to before it got too far, but she stayed. Looking back, she acknowledged using her celebrity status to draw people into the organization. She says, "I think that I capitalized on the things I had," she said in the podcast Per Entertainment Weekly. "And so the success I had as an actor, I think I did capitalize on that." So she just mentioned it right there. She used her celebrity status on Smallville in order to recruit these women because they knew who she was. At the time the show was very popular, it was still on, people knew who she was. She was, in so many words, a star. She was a television star, so to speak, which means her character was very popular. People knew who she was. So of course they were going to join off the strength that, oh, if she's a part of it, then it can't be that bad, only to turn around and basically do what she did. And now, honestly, no one's going to remember her more for anything other than what she's, with her being a part of this cult, at least those who are well versed with the story. It goes on to say, "And it was a power tool that I had to get people to do what I wanted," she added. "I think that I was very effective in moving Keith's vision forward." During her sentencing, Mack apologized to the women she helped recruit, calling her involvement the biggest mistake and the greatest regret of my life. "I am sorry for those of you that I brought into Nexium," she wrote in a filing at the time per NBC News. "I am sorry I ever exposed you to the nefarious and emotionally abusive schemes of a twisted man. You were just as twisted as he was because you went along with it. Granted, you probably weren't doing anything to the various vast extremes that this guy was doing, but you definitely played a part, because honestly, if it wasn't for her celebrity, they wouldn't have gotten all those women to get there, because those women, who was a Keith Raniere? No one knew who this man was. He wasn't a famous person by any measure, at least not to my knowledge. She was the key in order to lure those women there. So she has just as much responsibility in getting those women into that group as he did getting them there, because who was he? He was nobody famous. He was no one of notable fame. She allowed herself to be used in order to get those unsuspecting, innocent women there who thought they were there for something completely different, but then it turned out to be a whole nightmare. So the whole thing of her trying to be a victim or questioning if she is a victim, no, she's not. She says, "I am sorry that I encouraged you to use your resources to participate in something that was ultimately so ugly," she added. More recently, the Wilfred alum has married a man identified only as Frank. They tied the knot in Los Angeles in June after meeting at a dog park 6 months earlier. So this woman ended up getting married. I'm gonna say it like this: this guy is a sucker. You married this woman knowing what she did. This woman should not be attached to anybody intimately after what she done and did for years. But hey, that's their life. That's all I'm gonna say. And that's probably why he's keeping his identity so far as we know a secret, because they know people gonna clown him if they ever discover who it is. And he probably gonna catch a lot of heat. Like, are you dumb? Like, really? This is who you decided to marry? You could have married any woman in the world, and this is who you decided to get with. And then on top of that, they said they got married 6 months after meeting at a dog park. So that means they weren't even dating that long before they ended up getting married. I guess. It says, as for Raniere, he is serving 120 years in prison following his 2020 sentencing for sex trafficking, attempted sex trafficking conspiracy, forced labor conspiracy, racketeering conspiracy, and wire fraud conspiracy charges. And mind you, all of this was happening during, I guess you could say, still in the height of when Me Too was still a thing. I'm not going to say it was like at its peak, but it was like starting to slightly fizzle out, but it was still conversation going on there at the same time. And people were saying to ourselves, oh, well, I was saying too, well, why isn't Me Too going after Keith Raniere or even Allison Mack? We know why they weren't going after them. Well, we know why they weren't going after Allison Mack, because they were only going after the men. But we were saying to ourselves, this woman played a part as well, because this is a woman who was using her privilege and her status as a celebrity to lure unsuspecting women to something that they thought was something else, but it was completely different, in order for them to get stolen from, to get abused physically, and most likely verbally, get branded on, and a whole bunch of other things for years. And y'all had nothing to say about him. That's why a lot of people didn't take Me Too seriously. This one right here in particular was a huge part as the reason why, at least how I saw it. But as far as this story goes, I don't think Allison Mack deserves this so-called happy ending that they're trying to paint for her, or she's trying to make for herself. Not in a long shot, because of what she did. In my honest opinion, she should be forced to live a sequestered life as a nomad, like away from society. Because there's what she did, what she involved herself in. It was avoidable. She didn't have to do it. When she saw what it was starting to turn into, she could have left. She could have reported it. She could have been seen as a hero, but she didn't. She allowed herself to get engrossed in that, and then she got so wrapped up into it, and she lost control. And honestly, she should not be seen as this person that's supposed to be, I guess, rising from the ashes like the phoenix in order to start anew. What? And like I said, this is exactly why I do these Operation Protect the White Boy and White Women, or White Girl, whatever you want to put it, type of stories, because of stuff like this. Because there's no way that a woman who isn't white, especially if she's a black woman, would ever be allowed to, quote unquote, try to reemerge from this. Thankfully, but I hope I'm not speaking too soon, that she doesn't try to revive a career in Hollywood as far as doing acting or anything in entertainment. Honestly, I think that time has come and gone, especially since she's so far removed from her character on Smallville, and she, what she did. I don't see how anyone would allow her to even set foot on anybody's production set anymore after the stunts that she pulled over the years. It's, in my opinion, it's just not happening, and it shouldn't.